want to see Ofcom doing their job, holding these tech companies to account. And I want to see language that recognises that we do need to protect children. And under 18s, I've pushed really hard for 17 and 18-year-olds to 16 and 17-year-olds to be included and kept safe. So I'm pleased to see that we're seeing.
Keir Starmer is set to announce a midnight social media curfew for teenagers in one of his final acts as Prime Minister. Technology Secretary Liz Kendall is expected to set out a limited package of measures tomorrow, Wednesday, as Labour seeks to restrict social media for teenagers. This comes alongside a study commissioned by the government finding that the well-being of young people does improve with a social media ban and restrictions. Let's say hello to Rachel de Souza, Children's Commissioner for England. Rachel, a warm welcome to the Evening Edition. Thank you for being with us.
Great to be here.
This social media curfew, let's just talk about that before we move on to the study. That is set to be announced as a package of measures by Liz Kendall tomorrow, and it sees a midnight curfew on social media for 16 and 17-year-olds. That's still quite late, isn't it, midnight? I think that might be some people's reaction to this.
Yeah, it is late, but I am pleased that at least we're talking about 16 and 17-year-olds because all the conversation was about under 16s. You know, it's interesting because I've been reading this study DSIT have just put out about bans for children and you know, children feeling better and better well-being. I'm literally going around the country at the moment talking to young people, doing my final big survey and asking them about this. And we've surveyed 600,000 young people already. And what I can tell you is whenever I ask them, do you want a social media ban? Pretty much all of them say no. But when I say to them, you know, have you seen terrible things on there? Do you feel that you scroll for too long? They all say yes and yes. And we've tried to give up and we don't know how. And when I ask them, do they want the adults to protect them? They all say yes. And I think in there, you know, there's something really important. We shouldn't just be talking about banning children. We should be talking about banning these companies and making Ofcom do their job so that children can enjoy the digital world but aren't sucked into these awful algorithms and looking at stuff they shouldn't be looking at and scrolling for hours and hours and hours. And that applies to 16 and 17-year-olds as well.
And the emphasis will be on social media companies, won't it? Possible measures on curtailing indefinite scrolling. We may hear about that tomorrow. These overnight curfews, as we've said. Also action on VPNs as well, which are used by youngsters to evade age checks. It shows around only 7 to 10% of them use it, but of course that's because there is no ban in place. Once there is, of course, that use, that percentage may well go up. I mean, do you have faith that this will work? There are the accusations by some that Keir Starmer's doing this as a legacy project, and that actually when push comes to shove, trying to make this work with the technology firms, with parents, with families, that is a completely different ballgame.
Yeah, look, we've looked closely at the Australia ban, and we can see that lots of children are getting around it. And I think what you've just, I mean, the first thing I'd say is I'm pleased to see the government actually trying to do something. I think they could, and I'm pleased to see that they're looking at things like risky features. Kids don't want 55-year-olds from Arizona zooming into their games, which those risky features are live and trying to talk to them. So I'm pleased to see those risky features in there. Again, I think this is a much bigger conversation. You mentioned their parents. I did a piece of work with young people. What do I wish my parents knew and about tech? And the kids were all saying, look, you know, don't let us take our phones to bed at night. Talk to us about what we see on there. Get to know what we're looking at, and you know, we want to be able to talk to you so that you can help us keep us safe. And most kids told me they don't tell parents when they've seen terrible things because they think they'll get into trouble and their parents will take their phones.
Parents will just take the phones off, and it's always exactly easier. Right. I've got a 16-year-old and an 11-year-old. It's always easier to have these conversations not at night when they've got the phone in their hand because they're resistant to give it to you at 11 o'clock or if you have a curfew at home, whatever time that might be. It's always better talked about in advance, but in practice, it is always difficult. This study's interesting because it's always good to fire this at your kids if you're wanting some evidence to throw at them. So 300 families tried 3 types of restrictions. An overnight curfew, of course, we've talked about that today, possibly to be announced by Keir Starmer tomorrow. But this was preventing access between 9 p.m. and 7 a.m, a full removal of social media apps and a 15-minute daily limit per app, which is ambitious. I think a 15-minute limit is ambitious. But most of those families came back just saying that there was a very beneficial outcome to including these measures in their habits.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I mean, there's no question children themselves will tell you that they feel addicted, and that they're addicted to this, and they want the adults to help them get off there. And that's what our surveys have shown. So I think this is a move in the right direction, but it's going to take parents, government, Ofcom, everyone to help the kids get off this.
Yeah, it's going to be an almighty effort. Have you spoken to Andy Burnham, Rachel? He'll be our Prime Minister, of course, on Monday.
Yeah, so I mean, I've worked with him quite closely on a number of issues, and I think he is, from what I hear, I haven't spoken to him about this issue, but I think it seems that he is quite likely to be supportive of some restrictions here. I think, again, if we reframe it, we're actually, the adults need to protect the children and help them. The kids get it. They don't, and they just don't like the language of ban, because it makes it look as if they're doing something wrong, when actually it's these massive tech companies who should know better, who should be protecting kids, and young people should be able to access the digital world and enjoy it without fear of seeing terrible pornography, violence, people putting their images up, and to be caught in addictive spirals of algorithms. So that's what I want to see. I want to see Ofcom doing their job, holding these tech companies to account. And I want to see language that recognises that we do need to protect children. And under 18s, I've pushed really hard for 17 and 18-year-olds, 16 and 17-year-olds to be included and kept safe. So I'm pleased to see that we're seeing that.
Yeah, they are grappling, aren't they, the government, a little bit with these measures for 16 and 17-year-olds, while at the same time giving them the right to vote as well. It is all a balance. And also, it is for Andy Burnham and his new government to be able to make sure Ofcom has the resources and the power it needs to be able to come down hard on social media companies. That, I think, will be a lot of the battle.
It is, but I think Ofcom need to use the teeth that they've got as well. So I have challenged Ofcom. I didn't think the children's code was strong enough, and I think they could be out there doing a lot more on behalf of our children. So I think absolutely right, we need to see Andy Burnham direct them to do that. That's a change I want to see.
Look, really good to speak to you. Thank you for your time. Rachel de Souza, who is the Children's Commissioner for England. Appreciate it, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.